So the next part of our, I've been asked to give an impromptu kind of description of what we're doing next year. We've got three, myself included, the next three speakers came from Boston, and we're going to share some ideas, things that we're working on right now. So this is the second year in a row that we have visited Roanoke, and last year, several of you have come up to me and said that you remember my speech last year, so I very much appreciate that. Now we've been asked to just share ideas that have come out of that and different entrepreneurship concepts that we're working through right now. So, do you have the next slide? There. All right. That's what I'm working on. So here's the about a month after CityWorks last year. I had a buddy of mine visit from Pittsburgh, a buddy that I was in the Army with, and we sat down over a couple drinks, as you can imagine, and we started throwing around ideas. And we said, you know what, we need to start a business, and we need to start a business that supports veterans. And so, what are we going to do? And we came up with many bad ideas, I think. I won't bore you with them because I have a limited amount of time. But the idea we came up with was creating a watch company. And now this is, I just finished a degree in public policy. It has nothing to do with watches. And so when I say this, a lot of people kind of give me, they kind of scratch their head and say, all right, that doesn't really make sense. And I'm okay with that. I've already accepted that. But what we're doing is creating a company called Blackwell Timepieces. I was kind of inspired by 611 Cycles here last year in this kind of work to create something tangible. Work to create something tangible that also benefits the community that you care about. So what we're doing, we're making high-end timepieces, and there are three things that we think we're trying to compete on. And the first, there's cause, materials, and design. And so in this industry, there is not I'll sidestep for a quick second here. I think there's a broader trend, and we're seeing this a lot here at CityWorks, a broader trend towards creating something that supports a cause. So we have Tom's Shoes. We've got, Newman's Own, I think, was one of the first ones to do this. For each watch that we sell, we're putting another dog into a service dog training program for wounded veterans. So there's a one-to-one ratio. That is very important to my partner Jeremy and I, my business partner. And so for each one that for each product that we create, we think and we are very excited about changing somebody's life. And as veterans ourselves, this is something that we could get behind and get pretty excited about. So that's the first thing. The second thing is our materials. So I went to Switzerland in March, and I wanted to see. All right, this is where people are making watches that are. I'm not even wearing a watch, you notice. I don't know anything about watches. I don't know how to make a watch. I don't know what goes inside of a watch. I do now a little bit. So I went to Switzerland, and I stayed in a hotel that cost about 20 euros a night, and I had to travel about 2 hours a day to get to this large expo. I walked on a bus, and then a train, and then a bus, and then a trolley thing, and so it was very foreign. I don't speak any other languages, so wandered around a little bit, and what I saw was that there's not a lot of innovation in this industry. It's all kind of about image and kind of an aspirational status. And so our idea with Blackwell is that we change the conversation a little bit, and we say that instead of aspiring to tell time and send this signal that you have a lot of money, which is really not what we're concerned about. Instead, we send the social signal like Tom's Shoes does that hey, we made a purchase and we care about something a little bit bigger than ourselves. So the first thing is the cause. Second thing is materials. We are both, my buddy and I, Jeremy and I, were in striker brigades in the Army. A striker, if you haven't, has anybody Raise your hand if you know what a striker vehicle looks like. We got one guy in the back who we've already talked, and a couple others here. It's funny, the military guys always like see each other in the room and kind of, I got to talk to that guy. So a striker is kind of this big boxy looking vehicle. You fit 11 guys inside of it, 13 uncomfortably, and I've done that. And these vehicles are made out of steel. The steel comes from a company outside of Pittsburgh called ATI. We went to the company, said, hey, give us some of your steel. A very small amount. We're not making big vehicles. We convinced them to do so. So we're using that steel to make our timepieces. The second piece, which I'm a little more excited about, is in World War II, y'all know these boats that we invaded Normandy with in World War II. They're called Higgins boats. These boats, this is, you're going up on the beach with the big ramp in the back. Let's shake. Some people know. Yeah, okay. It's hard to see from here. Anyway, these boats are made out of wood, and the metal is just bolted to that wood. We found some of this wood. Not found. We had to search very hard for it. But we found some of this wood, and we're using that inside of our timepiece. So we've got kind of a piece of history, current military and historic military in the product that we're making. The last thing, design, is we've got kind of a unique way that we're building it so that we've kind of reduced the amount of pieces and made it a little bit stronger. And it's kind of, there's some gear stuff inside of it. I'm pretty sure it'll work. But no, I sent it to an engineer, and he gave me a thumbs up, so I think that's good, right? So there's kind of three things we're competing on. We are in the early stages of getting this done. This is an idea that generated largely because of the creativity that I saw here last year at CityWorks. Seeing somebody who says, for example, 611 cycles that I mentioned, seeing somebody who says, I want to create something, build it, and then create a quality of life that they were looking for. And I think that's what CityWorks Expo is all about, and that's something that I'm pretty excited about. So I invite you to go to our website. We are working through our first prototype right now. I think by the end of next week, we'll have a Kickstarter up. We're going to test out this crowdfunding in time for Veterans Day on November 11th. So hopefully next year, I will be here in Roanoke, and I will be able to show you what we've done. So that is it. So I will be followed by Alex, who's going to talk to us. He's a classmate of mine, and he's got a cool project he's working on. There you go.
Hey, everyone. First of all, can I say how impressed I am with some of the people I've met here in Roanoke who are from Roanoke? You all are very lucky. I mean, there's a 19-year-old here, or maybe 20-year-old that moved from Sao Paulo. He's now a resident. He's already had a business, and he's looking forward to staying in Roanoke for a long time. I mean, I'm kind of humbled. But I'm from the big city. I was born in New York, raised in D.C., educated in Philadelphia, lived in Miami, lived in Bogota, Buenos Aires, a couple other places, and I have no street credibility with any of you. And this is a conference about small cities and big ideas for small cities. So what am I doing here? Well, I'm here to talk to you about a venture we're starting called Opportunity Space. This is the domain name that we'll have for it. And essentially, what we're trying to do is we're trying to help governments realize the hidden value of their assets through better data and technology. So let me say that one more time, let it sink in. We're helping governments realize the hidden value of their assets with better data and technology. And why are we doing this? Well, it's a problem that cuts across jurisdictions, states, counties, cities of any size, countries even. So let me talk to you about what that problem looks like and what the opportunity is. So it's no mystery or not really anything newly discovered that local governments are suffering right now. There are budget cuts. A couple cities in California have filed for bankruptcy. I mean, cuts everywhere. And at the same time, they've got these idle resources that are really doing nothing. So let me step back for a second and let you read through a couple of these points. kind of staggering. And it might look like I'm picking on Miami, but I'm not. I just happened to get my hands on a data set from there. Is anybody here from Miami? No? Okay, good. I will pick on them then. Anyway, the point being that this is a problem because oftentimes these numbers are in dispute. Nobody has good information on what's out there really, and nobody knows how much it's worth. So how can we decide what we're going to do with our assets, real property assets, land and buildings, things that have a lot of locked up value if we don't even know what's there? And this is what it looks like. This is Firehouse number 9 in Miami, downtown, a couple blocks from one of the wealthiest pockets in the world. So Key Biscayne, a few blocks away, average net worth a couple $1 million. Miami Beach, the richest sandbar in the world. It's shocking that this is in the US. And this is a piece of public property. You and I, all the residents in the city of Miami own it. This is not in transition. This has been sitting here for a couple months. And every day people walk by it, people honk by it, people have no idea what's going on here. And what are the costs? The costs are economic. We have to police this. We have to maintain it with our dollars. We have to prevent crime. There are social costs. Neighbors don't like gathering around this. We are suffering from diminished social capital. And also, there are political costs. People feel disconnected from their leaders, and they don't trust them. I mean, if I saw something like this in my neighborhood that was a part of my government, how could I have confidence that the government is running things cleanly and efficiently? So how do we turn this into this? So this is a few blocks away right here, a project called Wynwood Walls. It was actually an endeavor undertaken by a late developer named Tony Goldman, who is a placemaker, very much like Ed. He bought up a lot of these properties from the government, and he commissioned a bunch of the world's most famous muralists to get them to bring excitement to this neighborhood. Just a couple blocks down the street. The neighborhood now has a bunch of businesses. It attracts millions of tourists every year, especially during Art Basel season, which is a big arts festival in Miami. And it's just become an extremely effective way to change this type of building, a light and fast way. So what are we doing? What is Opportunity Space doing? What are we about? How do we make that happen? Well, right now, government data around their own assets, that's their real property and land, looks like this. It's in all different formats. It doesn't talk to each other. Nobody really, it's all housed in different silos and agencies, and the school district has a bunch of buildings and gyms, and the rec centers have their own information. The police departments have their own. Nobody's really talking to each other. All the data's not interoperable. Well, we're going to take that data, and we're going to clean it up. And we're going to put it in one format so that it's interoperable so people can read it. And when that happens, good things happen. The data becomes actionable and readable. You can make analyses, and you can better understand what you hold, what you have, so that you can make better decisions with it. And then once you make those analyses, you can identify properties and put them on a marketplace and engage people like the Tony Goldmans and the Ed Walkers of the world, but also people like community organizations like DC Central Kitchen, who we heard from last night, that is looking for spaces, low cost, to provide important social services, and even individuals who want to start a new business. So a town has a entrepreneurship initiative. Well, put your money where your mouth is and show me that you have space you can give me when I have a good business idea. And here's what the interface will look like. So you, me, Tony Goldman, Ed Walker, we'll be able to go to a place like this and find available assets for lease or for any other purpose we might be able to propose. Alternative uses, new creative ideas on what to do with space. This is what we're trying to do. I mean, this is in Spain. This is what the train station looked like just a few minutes before. A very quick light intervention. I don't think I've ever seen somebody as excited to be in a train station before. And then it's a dance party. it also helps to have world-class electronic dance music artists and 40% unemployment among the youth to be able to do that during the day. But the cruel joke aside, things like this are really opening our minds on what we can do with publicly held property. So what now? We're moving to a pilot in Louisville, Kentucky, so we can work with them on identifying how to break down the barriers in their existing data systems. And then we're also going to be engaging a major US city on how to help them identify more public spaces in their suite of assets to help their citizens, especially in underserved communities, find physical or places that would have potential for physical activity, so open gyms and things like that. The city has a very rigorous anti-obesity initiative. So we're trying to pair that policy with their existing resources and assets. And we just want to help governments do more with less. So that's it. That's what we're up to. It's a ambitious undertaking to try to get governments to open up their data, but it's going to happen. So, Stephanie.
Well, hello. Thank you. My name is Stephanie Brown. I'm studying urban planning and urban policy at Harvard. And I'm going to talk today not so much about an entrepreneurial concept, but an entrepreneurial struggle. See, I was trying to figure out how to set this up today, and my mom's a reading teacher, and she told me about this new technique she just learned, which is when the teacher is sitting with a student and they're really struggling to put together those syllables to figure out what the C and the E sound is, and they give up. The teacher turns and says, "I know you don't know, but if you did know, what would you say?" And apparently this works. About 75% of the time, students suddenly come up with something. It might not be right, but they tried. So this is what I did. I'll say one thing that 2.5 years at Harvard has taught me is that there is an awful lot out there that I promise you I do not know the answer to. But I would really like some of those answers. So I took one of my big questions. In this case, what I want to look at is how you can really deal with issues of class and racial differences with the gravitas that they deserve without bogging down the project so much that nothing gets done. I've seen both happen. I've seen people ignore it entirely. I've seen people, myself included, be paralyzed by those questions. And I really feel like moving forward, how to muddle through this is something that I need to know. Am I qualified to speak to this? Not particularly. I've just run into a lot of circumstances in my life where I've come face first with these differences and not really known what to do. You see, growing up, I never thought of myself, of my family as poor. Sure, we weren't rich, knew that much. My bedroom was part of the family room that was separated by some bookcases and some hamster cages, and my clothes were all hand-me-downs, as was my first car, and the side of it was held together partly by duct tape. But that was life. That was normal. Budgets and coupons, that was everyone around me. And so I didn't really think too much about it until I moved away for college. And I moved across the country. Well, I lived in the middle of the country, so halfway across. I went to Georgetown University, and it was this glorious place of ideas and excitement, and it was ever so much wealthier than I'd imagined. And I didn't know what to say. A lot of times I didn't know how to communicate my own background. I learned to stay quiet, to Google things I didn't know. And after several years of trying to figure out how to reconcile this economic gap, I decided that the best way to do that was to step back, to leave the wealthy environment and to go back to a poor one. So I moved into the poorest neighborhood I could convince other people to live in with me. I moved to Anacostia in southeast DC, which had 30% unemployment rate at the time, half of kids born into poverty, and I thought, man, this is my people, we're good, I know poverty. What I didn't realize was that I am white, and this neighborhood was 97% black, and it turned out that was a much bigger gulf than I had suspected. Naive little me. And, it was harder to build relationships. It was harder to get invited into my neighbor's house. I was learning norms, and there are many stories there. We can talk about them later. But what I found was that difference is more challenging than I had imagined, and if you ignore it, you miss a lot. So what do? How do I answer this question that I do not know the answer to? I have 5 things. Let's see where they get us. So the first thing that I have come up with, and actually I wrote them down because I didn't know them 2 hours ago, or 2 days ago rather. So first thing, start early. It took me 3 years in Anacostia to feel like I'd begun to make friendships that were just based off of living there, not based off some outside connection. It takes time to build relationships. Get going. Be strategic about them too. Number 2, don't overstudy. The problem with studying, and I say this as a student, is it gives you something to talk about other than yourself, and it gives you something to listen to other than the person across from you. And you have to make it about people, not about books, or you're not going to get very far. So number 3, look for a common cause. There are important questions of economics, there are important questions of race, but there are a lot of deeply human questions. Where do our kids go? Are they going to learn? Are our streets safe to walk down? And if you start there, the other issues begin to fade away, and you can hit them when it's time. Number 4, know that everyone has a breaking point. And maybe this is controversial to say, but I think there's a limit to how much difference we can take. Everyone sort of needs space and needs time, and learning how to give that to people is important. But number 5, move forward anyway. Go forward with the people you can find who are willing to move. Go early, and if it breaks, if it fails spectacularly, well, use that as the lesson to do better the next time with the people you've got. So those are my 5 early steps: to start early, don't overstudy, look for common cause, know that people have a breaking point, but move forward anyway. So that's my start. I'd love to hear more from yours later. Thank you.